alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Apostolic Islam, presenting the faith that God revealed, the prophets preached, and that the Muslims kept. Today we'll be continuing our series on the Qur'an correcting the Bible by looking at the Exodus narratives in both texts and comparing the two. The Bible, when describing the event of the Exodus, tells us that there were about 600,000 men on foot besides women and children. The reference can be found in Exodus 12:37. Further passages we can use to support this point are found in Numbers 1:45-46, Numbers 2:32, and Numbers 26:51. We can see from these various passages, all reiterating the same point, that the total amount of men specifically was approximately 603,550. Considering population trends based off age demographics, a reasonable estimate for the total population, including women, children, and the elderly, would be approximately 2 million. There are a variety of proposed solutions, although we will see below that none of them are going to work. One of the proposed solutions to this dilemma is the claim of scribal error. The claim that these inflated Exodus numbers emerge from scribal errors and that they do not reflect what the text originally intended to say. If one ascribes to scribal error theory, they critique the validity of the book of Exodus and other corroborating biblical narratives as well. The population is clarified in so many different passages that for there to be scribal errors across all these passages would necessitate mass corruption. It is much simpler to conclude that there was specific authorial intent, which was to portray the Exodus as really being this large. This is strengthened when Exodus 38:25 is considered, which states that the silver counted to 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, where 1 talent is 3,000 shekels, totaling to 301,775 shekels. Thus we find that the ransom money totals to 603,550 half shekels. We know that the ransom for each man is 1 half shekel. So this confirms the claim that there was approximately 600,000 men according to the book of Exodus. This group of 600,000 men, approximately to 2 million to 2.5 million people, with a line marching 10 across chest to chest, would have formed a line 240 kilometers or 145 miles long, which is an outstanding claim. A migration of such magnitude necessitates historical evidence, and therefore the claim that is made in Exodus and Numbers is subject to scrutiny. To further shed light onto this highly improbable claim of Exodus, we consider these claims in light of historical fact, such as the population of Egypt circa the Late Bronze Age. The period of the Exodus has been referenced by the scholars to be approximately 1255 BC. This also falls in line with the reign of Ramses II, and so allusions to Ramses in other verses such as Exodus 1:11 are accommodated and flow coherently. This is an issue for those that claim that the biblical Exodus is historically accurate, as Egyptologists have provided figures for the total population of Egypt around this time as being roughly 3 to 4.5 million. Such a large exodus of around 2 million people has neither been reported in history nor has any archaeological or historical evidence behind its happening. If over half the workforce of population of Egypt migrated at once, the ancient empire would collapse or see major halt in its activities. However, this is not what we see. The exodus did not cause the Egypts to panic to find a way to fill their workforce after half the population had seemingly migrated through the sea. It is thus no wonder that the scholars are skeptical about the Exodus narrative, and insist that if it did happen, it would have been only a small group of Israelites that did. This is actually exactly what we see in the Qur'an. The exact number of men in Moses' Exodus is omitted, and the tribe is explicitly confirmed to be small in number, as opposed to the Old Testament claim. In the Qur'an, in chapter 26, verse 54, Pharaoh says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن هؤلاء لشرذمة قليلون. Indeed, those are but a small band. This is as what we have seen with the Jonah story, much more in line with the historical data. Why would the Prophet make this change if he was just copying the Bible? The Bible makes it clear that this was a mass multi-million Israelite migration, and if the Prophet was inspired by Satan or was simply copying the Bible, there is no reason for him to have gone against this very clear point. We see the Quran going against the trend of exaggeration over and over again, historically, just like with Jonah and Nineveh, as we saw in the other video, and therefore we can start to notice a pattern, where the Bible errs and the Quran does not. Not only that, but even corrects it, supporting the claim that rather than being inspired by the text which had come before it, the Quran is indeed divinely inspired and is correcting the mistakes found in previous scriptures. Christians, please reflect upon this. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.